I have another book review for you. This is the book, and I'm gonna show you something. I got this book from the bookstore, of course, but check this out. The bookstore I got it from is here, right underneath my office space, and this is really painful because I have to see all those interesting books every day. I can actually go through the bookstore on my way up here, and it's just, I hate and I love it. The reason I'm talking about this is that bookstore, it's called Akadeeminen kirjakauppa in Finnish, or academic bookstore. And it's not really academic, it's just a general bookstore, but that's the name for historical reasons. And they are sponsoring these videos now. They're not telling me to say anything, they're just providing me books. So they just give me books that I choose. They don't ask me to say anything specific about them, so don't worry. And those are the books that I really wanted to buy. So thank you to them. This is the book I got this time. It's called The Shallows, and it's about the way our brains are kind of, let's say, being changed by technology and the internet. And you've heard this a million times before, probably. Our attention is going downhill, our knowledge ability is going downhill, memory really bad, smartphones, the internet, computers, they just ruining our brains. And your position could be anything between that's fine or nothing is happening, all the way to we're all gonna die, this is the end of civilization. Now, regardless of your position, you probably felt something about this. I don't know about you, I can tell even within my relatively short lifespan, it was easier for me to sit down and read a book, for sure. Even as a kid, I used to read. I think it feels like maybe my memory is failing, but it feels like as a kid I had just more patience, I guess, or the books were more interesting, or I don't know. Today it's a battle. Like I'm buying a book, I like the book, I enjoy reading it, but there's always this nagging sensation of reaching for the phone, or sometimes with the phone it's easier, I can just throw it away, turn it off or something, but there's always something there, right? It's not even social media necessarily. I'm not talking about, checking Facebook. It could be that for you or for anyone else. It could be, everybody has their own vice. It could be anything from, hacker news to Twitter to YouTube to whatever. It's just so much stuff there. And if I'm sitting here reading this one book, this is just one book written by one guy. It's so limiting, right? And there I have unlimited potential, everything from everybody. So people talk about this. There are usually several types of responses. Now, one quite popular response is that that's not true. This is just an illusion. It's always been like that. There was never this golden time in human civilization where we were patient and nice and sitting in rooms silently reading books. We always had this nagging sensation, and we always had pretty bad attention and memory. So today we can just see it better because we talk more, we actually discuss this stuff, and we in a position that we are able to discuss this stuff. And you can think this way, that nothing really is being changed by the internet and technology, but I don't believe in this. And actually books like that, they provide quite good scientific base to prove that that's not true. Now, our brains actually do change, and there's no doubt about the fact that the brain of someone who spends hours on the internet every day has different abilities in regards to attention and memory and often intelligence. It could actually be in a good way, that you can change your brain to be a better brain. thanks to technology and the internet, but that's not the default behavior. That's not the default kind of response to that changed environment. So I'm going to disregard that idea, the idea that nothing is really happening and everything is fine and it's always been like that. I'm going to move to the second point where, okay, that's true, but here you can have two options, right? One option is, yes, that's true, our brains are being changed, the internet is affecting us, the technology is affecting us, but that's fine. Nothing, it's not bad. It's affecting us in a good way, or at least we cannot say definitively it's good or bad. It's being changed, and we'll see how it goes, but that's evolution. That's where we headed as a species, because we're probably going to get more and more information integrated into our lives. So right now this is quite crude. We have screens with just letters and sounds and videos, but let's say we fast forward a few hundred years, we have some high throughput, high bandwidth channels into our brains, something like Neuralink, where we can actually upload and download information. So we're gonna get there probably if nothing bad happens. So that's inevitable. So today we just on the first steps of that, maybe rough steps, but it's not bad and we're gonna get through. So that's one position. And that's maybe true. I hope so, because that's the optimistic one. The pessimistic one is that the change is definitely negative. This is bad, and this is gonna get worse. And we're actually gonna see not only on a personal level, like, okay, I cannot read a book, whatever, but in terms of the society and civilization, this is going to somehow do something bad. And this is the pessimistic way, and I'm trying to be optimistic. I just have one argument for the, well, let's say against the optimistic way, against thinking that nothing really should be done and it's fine, we just gotta see where we're going because we are going there anyway. So I'm gonna talk about that in the end. I want to focus a little bit about the book because what is it about? Well, there's a lot of research that shows you what actually happens to the human brain when it's exposed to something like this. So in a way, this is a book about me and you and probably everybody you know. And it's kind of scary. There's nothing fundamentally new. So like if you heard a few arguments, you will be able to probably guess. But this actually explains it in detail, so you have a better understanding of what happens. And it's also quite interesting in a way that the author, Nicholas Carr, he presents this not just like this new, absolutely new thing that happened in the last 20 years. He compares this to some other historical changes, technological changes that affected the way people's brains work. Those technological changes provided new tools for thinking in general, let's say thinking. And the tools he goes through are writing, the alphabet, and print press, printing of books. And well, printing kind of sounds technological, yeah, right? It's a new technology and it changed the way people introduced books to the general public. So that's understandable, and we can see how that actually was a change for the good. What about writing? Writing, it doesn't feel like it's a technology, right? It's just something people do. But it was quite a new thing relatively short time ago. And it's a technological advancement. At times of ancient Greeks, they actually, again, weren't sure if that's really a good thing. Socrates, the philosopher, he was worried that writing kind of ruins conversation and poetry, because writing thought is quite different to saying what you think, to debating, to having a conversation in real time. He was worried that the change in how people think and how people interact could be for the worse. And perhaps in some ways it is. After all, you know how texting could be harder to interpret and actually to deal with than just a simple phone call. So overall, writing as a technology, I think we can say it was good. It was a good technological change. So the author goes through several stages like that in the history of human civilization and compares how significant that change was, how people worried about that change, how people didn't know what to expect. And then we get to this change, to the internet, to smartphones and computers. Well, his case is pretty strong. The case is all those changes were mostly for the better. This change is mostly for the worse. This is bad. At the same time, he admits that people back then, many people also thought that that change was for the worse, that writing is going to ruin civilization, basically. And you can take that position and think, well, what do we know? And what I wanted to talk about by the end of this review, I agree that this is inevitable. We're not going to get less internet, we're not going to get less information and technology unless something bad happens. There's no useful way out of this. And this is kind of hard for me to talk about because it's hard to explain what I mean often. I like technology. I'm a technology guy. I'm a programmer. I cannot imagine, and I don't want to imagine my life without technology, the internet, and all that stuff. At the same time, I don't like it. I don't like it, not in principle, and this is the important distinction. I like technology in principle, but I don't like technology as it is. Because as it is, it's just half-baked. It's just not ready. And I think the problem isn't that it's not ready. Well, no things start from the ready state, right? Eventually we get there. So the problem with technology is that the rate of growth and expansion of technology does not match its maturity, let's say, or development. It was too rapid, like 20 years, and absolutely everything is different about the way we interact with knowledge. And as a consequence, as explained in this book, the way we think is different now. The way our brains operate on a chemical level, on a physical level, is different now. A couple of decades, and it's so much different. But the technology it's kind of chaotic. It wasn't designed for this. It's just happened like a cataclysm. I don't think it's in that state where we can actually benefit more than we can hurt ourselves. There's this disbalance between the amount technology is incorporated into our lives and the maturity and usefulness and safety of it. The world that we headed to, supposedly, where we just, why do I need to read a book when I have this information everywhere, like the web of knowledge on the planet? That's a wonderful world. Like, I'm not really, I want a paper book for the rest of my life because that's how my father was reading. No, I don't care about like books. I don't care about paper that much. Now, it's nice, of course, yeah, I want to have this object, but I don't really like reading that much. I mean, I enjoy the process of having read something. I enjoy having the knowledge and making connections and thinking and, realizing something or exploring something. I like the content and the result of having access to knowledge. So, of course, when people say, why do you need to read the book when you have Google in your pocket? I'm not even talking about problems that Google is just, a corporate entity with its own goals and economic metrics that have nothing to do with your benefit. Forget about that. Let's say we have some common, universal governmental non-profit Google or something like that. We forget about problems with economics and capitalism. I'm just talking about the fact that the software is just not there. The technology is not there. Whatever Google and smartphones have, they cannot just replace my brain. It would have been great if I could just have my brain, but 10 times better, 10 times faster and making more connections and being smarter and all that stuff. I will take that brain. I don't love my brain that much. It's not there. And the way my brain changes because of the internet is like it's adapting to the world that doesn't exist yet. Like my brain is now moving towards the point where it expects to not be able to process anything internally, but it expects to have knowledge and connections and thought process outside of it. Often it's harder for me to make decisions and I expect help from the outside world. Like I want to pick something or I want to go somewhere, and instead of maybe thinking about it or getting information in raw format and having made the decision myself, I often outsource the decision to this ever-knowing internet where people share, or actually sometimes not even people, neural networks share the wisdom and tell me where to go and what to do. Now that sounds dramatic, and you can say you don't have to do it. You can say no. But my point is, it feels like our brains are being adapted for the world that just, yes, we're going there. Yes, the world is changing, and yes, there's no way to stop technology and the internet, and it's gonna get more and more incorporated into our lives. I just hope it gets also better. It gets to the point where that incorporation can feel like it's worth it. I don't know if any of that made sense, but yeah, that's what's on my mind. Anyway, you have to read this book if you're interested in just realizing. It's not like a self-help book. It's not gonna make you. There are no exercises. That's actually the bad part about this book. Maybe this is why they have this black frame. Like there's no way out. This is really bad. Halfway through the book, I'm thinking, okay, great. I understand now, but what are we going to do? Like, are you gonna give me some advice, or my brain is like this? So what do I do? And he gives me nothing. There's nothing. There's actually a good podcast I'm gonna link in the description where he talks with someone. I think it was Ezra Klein from Vox. They talk about this book, and they talk actually a little bit more about what to do. But there's nothing, there's no magic pill to get out of this. You can mitigate this in some ways, and I'm trying to, but, well, at least understanding what happens is the first step, right? And then you can do something or ignore it, but at least do it knowingly. So yeah, good book. Thank you. See you soon.